Hello guys, welcome to Workshop 2. Hope you enjoyed Workshop 1. This time we're going to take what we did in Workshop 1, which was graffiti lettering, basic lettering, and really roll with that and start adding some effects, cracks, shines, drips, flames, how to break the lettering up, how to make it more dynamic. So we're going to really concentrate on that again and just see what we can really do to make our letters have more power. Alright guys, welcome to workshop number 2. This workshop we're going to be looking at tricks and effects you can do on your graffiti letters. So you can see our graffiti piece, our sketch we did from workshop 1 was plain and was colour work, and the letters were all quite similar and just quite plain. We're going to really mix it up and give the letters a lot more power this time. So I'm going to be going through 3 different words with you and showing you maybe 6, 7 different effects that you can do to those words or those letters to make them exciting and dynamic. So same as workshop 1 guys, we're going to be needing pencil, potentially we're going to be needing our rubber, we're going to be needing some felts, we're going to be needing some marker pens, again preferably black marker pens or black felt tip pens for our outlines. A lot of this workshop is going to be just me showing you outlines and maybe a few colour tricks, but we'll see. And I'm going to get started with my pencil. So again, going back to workshop 1 just very quickly, I'm going to choose a random word, and the first word I'm going to do effects and tricks to is the word moves. Just nice and simple. So I'm going to do my spacing. So guys, remember to do your spacing. And this just allows me for my M, my O, my V, my E, and my S. And I've got my edges as well, guys, yeah? And that just allows me just to make sure that my lettering is going to move. Now, I might break out of those a little, but I'm definitely not going to find myself going off the edge of my paper. And that's what I kind of want. So I'm going to start sketching out those letters lightly with a pencil, so hopefully you'll be able to pick this up. Again, my lettering is just nice and big and bold. Some letters are slightly higher than the others, some are a little bit lower, some are changing angle every now and again. And then I've afforded myself some nice space there as well, because my S is slightly bigger than my E. So already I'm kind of there. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm just going to show you that's my very, very first, just very simple, rough pencil sketch. Okay? Now I'm going to go in with my Sharpie and go with a little bit more detail and start thinking about showing you some 3D and some shadow effects, okay? So I'm breaking up my letters a little bit, just adding some little effects, some loose, some sharp, some corners. These things are called serifs, where you make the letter kick out a little bit. So you can see there, I've made the letter kick out a little bit. That's just called a serif on a letter, just for you guys' knowledge. And I'm going to think about my 3D. So straight away, the first 3D I'm going to show you is what we call like a down to the floor 3D. So off every corner, going straight down off my letter, I'm just doing a downwards line. All about the same. So what's that? Maybe like a centimetre, maybe something like that, right? So every point has now got about a centimetre, centimetre and a half line. Then I'm going to look back at my letter, look back up at this shape and this size, and do the line to sort of finish that off so that my 3D is kind of working together. So I'm following my letter back. So this line here is the bottom of my M, and straight away I'm thinking I need to follow and replicate that and make that work. And straight away you can see. And then the same thing, I've got to follow that to make my 3D blocked off and finalised. I'm following my point of my M, and there's my shadow. And that's a kind of perfect straight down 3D. And then just so I can make it really clear for you guys, I'm just going to block that in with the black pen, just so it's really standing out. Really nice and simple. Yeah. All making sense. So you can see my Sharpie starting to run out a little bit, but that's all right. It still gives the effect. So you block all of those in. And our lettering's starting to already look super bold. Might leave some gaps, maybe some lines. As long as it's all facing the same direction, what you want to avoid is some of your 3D going off this direction, some going off that direction, some going off the other direction, okay? So that's like a nice, simple, straight down 3D. Now I'm going to carry on with the O. So again, not doing anything too crazy with the O. Just gonna, I've kind of wobbled my line deliberately a little bit. Right. Now with this one, I'm going to do what we call to the middle, or a vanishing point 3D. I'm going to come back to my pencil. I'm going to draw myself a line and do a little dot. And then my 3D is all going to go in the direction of that dot. Yeah? So I'm looking at that dot, following it. I'm not going to go all the way to the dot, but I want it to be in that direction. And because I've done my line, I know where to stop it. I know where my centre's going to be. And then rather than fill it in, I'm just going to do some accent lines that really show my 3Ds going into that middle point, just always going down into that middle vanishing point. I'm going to do the same thing with my E as well. In fact, I'm going to do the same thing with all of the middle letters, because that'll really help me show you that that vanishing point trick can really work. So here's my V. Same thing. So there's my dot. I'm looking at my dot, and I want all of my letters to go towards that dot. If you want to at home, guys, you can use a ruler and just literally draw it in and make all of your letters go to, make all of the different points go towards that dot. Then I'm going to stop mine a little before it gets there. And you know what, if you get it ever so slightly wrong, it doesn't matter. It's still going to make your lettering look super, super powerful. Just having any of those big blocks gives you more to colour, gives you more to work with. You can shade it like orange to a yellow so it looks like it's totally 3D and going off there. And that's kind of working nice. So again, I'm not going to block all that in. I'm just going to do some of those accent lines. And I'm always thinking about where that dot is for my lines as well. And that starts to look kind of bold, powerful. It's doing more than it was before. Much more than we did over here. It's giving us more to work with. I'm going with my slightly thicker marker pen just to sort of embolden the letters a bit. And we can see that starting to come together. Now with the S, I'm going to do a different type of 3D. Now this one we call like an offset 3D. So the aim of the offset 3D is, so we have our letter, and then we're going to make it look like we've kind of essentially moved the letter ever so slightly, and that the 3D's been budged along. So I'm looking for my corner, and I'm coming in about 1 centimetre, and I'm following the shape of the letter again. Yeah? So like the whole of the 3D has been budged along a little bit. So here I am, that's my edge, but I'm making my whole edge 1 centimetre in and running it along. And straight away the whole letter looks like it's been kind of jiggled about or moved, or it's on tracing paper or something like that, and we're kind of working away. And again, we're going to go nice and bold just to make that really, really stand out. And it kind of works because our word is moves. We want movement. You know, you're thinking about what you're representing with your word. You know, if we did peace over there, maybe we'd do peace symbols in the background. Maybe we'd do some CND symbols. Maybe we'd do like a peace sign like this. I don't know, you might sort of like play around with those sorts of things so that you're giving the letters that you're doing their own character. So if I'm writing moves and that's my tag that I've chosen, I want to do anything to make it look like the lettering is making moves and doing different things. And straight away, that's going to just add more value to what I'm trying to create. So that's some basic 3D stuff. I'm now going to go on to another piece of paper to show you a few tricks. Okay guys, so second one up, to show you some effects for our lettering, I'm going to do the word graph. It's kind of half of the word graffiti. It's kind of the shortening word. And again, I've already done my spacing. So I've got my space for my G, my R, my A, my F. Again, I'll do it quickly with pencil, just to show you guys how that kind of works. Nice and bold, nice and confident. My letters are all kind of just touching each other again, pretty much. Kind of like no gaps between them. Just nice and bold letters for the time being. I'm doing this with pencil, but on this one, I'm going to be adding cracks. I'm going to be adding shines. I'm going to be adding different stuff. So I just wanted to kind of show you the very, very simple basic lettering. Hoping you guys can see that all right. And then I'm going to go straight in with my bold pen. But what I'm going to do is, and I think this is a nice way to kind of go about it. So this first letter is going to have some cracks in. So what I'm actually going to do is follow my pencil sketch, but leave some little bits. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to move the letters around a little bit. So I've got a pen on my hand, as you can see. Classic sketches problem. And then I'm going to move my letters around. I'm actually going to make bits sink in, bits stand out. I know that's a bit weird, right? It's not kind of necessarily making sense. But what this allows me to do is crack my letters. Put little tricks in. The letters looks like it's made up of like a bunch of paving slabs or blocks or something, like the whole thing's just kind of a bit smashed or broken to bits or just kind of not really working. And straight away that G has become something so much more dynamic than it was before. Yeah. So again, really, quite a simple technique of just leaving the pen to do the work a little bit. It doesn't even have to make total sense. It's just got to look like it's kind of all broken up, but you've got to not lose the integrity of the letter. And what I mean by that is you've got to see that it's still a G. You've got to see that capital shape is still there and you haven't lost the essence of the letter. So next up, I'm going to do some drips on this R. It's the same thing. Top of my letter is absolutely fine, but I'm going to put a few little gaps. And where I'm definitely going to put some gaps is on the bottom side of the letter. Now this allows me to do a couple of things. So I can do drips coming up, so that the letter looks like it's actually got drips coming out of the outline of the letter. And then obviously drips going down. Now it's very similar to when we were doing the 3D earlier. The drips have got to go straight down. You don't want drips going off at angles, because that's the physics of that is wrong. If you spill something or if water or waterfall always goes straight down, because that's what gravity's doing. So if you have drips going off sideways, it doesn't work for the eye. You've got to stick to some of the principles, some of the sort of weirdly, they're kind of like, almost like scientific principles, The drips work in a visual sense because they're all going in the same direction. So I know that's super complicated, but it just helps with kind of what we're doing. Yeah. And that same thing applies with something like flames. If you were going to do flames on a letter, the point of the flame has always got to face up. Your flames can't go off to the side. They've always got to go up. Yeah? Again, our lettering starting to look really powerful, really effective, and just simple little trick like that can turn that very simple R just into something much more dynamic. Right, shines. So I'm going to do my A. It's going to be quite difficult to replicate this. It's something we often do with spray paint, but I'm going to do it with a black for now just so it kind of makes sense. But shines might be something like this, where you're doing some little stars, some little star shapes. So the letter's got some dynamism to it. Or it might be that you're actually kind of giving the letter what looks like a bit of a highlight shine. And the highlight shine will always be on the same side of the letter. So imagine that the light is coming down this way, yeah? So you want to make sure that your highlight is always facing the direction that where the light source would be hitting it from. So it's not moving too much. And then you might do something similar where it looks like it's shining with a bit of an outline around it. That can also like replicate like the letters moving, but I think also it helps just to make it look like it's shining a bit as well. Another nice shine on a letter might be something like a circle. And those are the sort of things you'd often leave in white, like I did in workshop 1 when I was doing some colour. But yeah, straight away that letter's starting to look like it's got some real like shine and movement to it, some bling. It's looking quite nice. Right, now the last one I'm going to really break up a little bit. So this is my F. So I want to start to what we would call kind of camouflage the letter a little. So straight away I'm going to add more effects. More blocks coming off the shape of my F. I'm going to mess around with the angle, the shape of it a little bit. And this is what we call making the letters more wild style letters. So straight away what I'm going to do is maybe throw off some arrows. Maybe I'm going to do some blocks, some semicircles, some bits cutting in, cutting out. And I'm not losing the integrity of my F. My F is still very much an F. Starting to veer into looking a bit like an E because of this. But when I get my 3D balance on it, it's still going to read like an F. And if I've gone a bit too far, like if I've made my letters, if I've kind of messed around with the letter a bit too much, then I can compensate for that by kind of making this smaller again. Do you know what I mean? Make that line bolder. Maybe we've got another little broken off arrow coming this way. Most important, guys, is get your letter shape right first. Get the shape you want it to be. And then anything you're going to embellish or add, like the blocks, like the drips, like the flames, like anything like that, you want that stuff to be added after. Because if you start with the blocks and you start with that stuff, there's a good chance you'll lose the shape that you want for your letter. And that's kind of some nice basic effects. Obviously you can add more arrows, you can add things into the background like we did before. We've got some stars going on. You could have, some cloud effects in the background. Then obviously when you start adding a bit of colour, you can just really go to town on all of that. And then you start to really pick out where your letters are. With shadows. Let me show you a basic shadow effect as well. So for example, if I was going to do a yellow in these letters, and those two are there, and maybe this one's going to be in an orange because it's complementary, but it's sticking out in front a little bit. And I want to go and find something in the middle of that to add me a shadow. Start making it look like my letters are coming forwards, going backwards. Similar. With this, I might do a shadow of my letter. So it's a bit like recreating that 3D effect. Straight away, my letter's looking like it's standing proud off the page. So all just super simple tricks. Again, just a line across a simple letter, making it look like it's been riveted on or bolted together. Anything like that will just add value to what you're trying to draw and what you're creating. You can't go too far wrong, guys. It's just about getting your letter shapes right first and then adding in the tricks you want. And it starts to complicate up and you start to disguise what you're doing, but I still think that's pretty legible, pretty readable, and making sense as one word.